You are listening to the Success Leaves Clues podcast,
where we're having conversations with regular people doing outstanding and legacy-changing things in corporate America and entrepreneurship.
If you're looking for the blueprint to help you make less mistakes on your journey to freedom and ultimate purpose, then this is the podcast for you.
And now, here's your host, Dr. K. Dr. K.
I have with me today Justin Sloan, founder of Everbowl and Sloan Capital. He probably doesn't need much of an introduction. He's everywhere on social media. I see him all the time. Not only just a presence, but introducing good content that people actually learn from. And that's what really piques my interest with you.
Oh, thanks, Dr. K. It's good to talk to you, man. I wish I was the founder of Everbowl. I'm hoping to scale a couple of states for him. But Jeff, the founder, is a great friend of mine and has built a really incredible company there. So excited to talk to you about it, man.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I thought you was you market him so well. I thought you was on board with him. Or a founder.
It's just I eat, sleep, and breathe Everbowl. I love this company as much. Probably not as much as the founder, but it's up there.
Well, tell us about Everbowl.
Yeah, man, we're making an attempt at making healthy eating fun. So about 18 months ago or so, I was out in Scottsdale for a little private event. And I tasted this acai bowl and was like, what in the world is this thing, And all of a sudden was like, this is what I want in my life. I work from my office a lot. I'm on the road a lot, and having something accessible and delicious and that's good for you and makes you, gives you some energy. It's something I became crazy passionate about. So went down the path of, learning about the company, spending some time in the stores. Drew Brees ended up investing into the company and purchasing the rights to 6 different states.
Okay.
And then we purchased the rights to a couple states and have just been trying to open as many of these locations as we can. Every few weeks, we got another one opening. It feels kind of weird to throw parties for a living, but that's what it is. Grand openings every few weeks or so,
Hey, you're rolling. It sounds like a good career and business to be in.
Yeah, man. It's been.
So you're out in Scottsdale. Are y'all anywhere on the East Coast yet?
Yeah, so the company's growing like wildfire. It started in California about 5.5, 6 years ago. And then during the pandemic is when they finally made the decision to franchise. The whole company was built not to franchise, but it opened up this other opportunity. And so through that, we've got locations now in Georgia and Florida. We've got many going in Texas. That's the territory that I'm in control of. We just opened our first in Baton Rouge, which is in Drew Brees' territory, Indiana, Tennessee. And then once you start heading west, Scottsdale, Colorado, Oregon, tons in California, almost 400 more in the works. So again, we're making this big push right now to see if we can make healthy eating cool and taking a stab at it.
Awesome. So I'm originally from Florida, but I live in Richmond, Virginia now. So there's not one yet in Virginia.
No, we got to find some friends of yours to get this rolling. It's really on the train right now, for sure.
Do that. So how do the territories work? Do you get the whole state, or is it still not defined? Do they do regions within the state? How do they do the franchise territory?
Yeah, so every franchise is a little bit different, but essentially as franchises scale, they work with different area representatives, area developers, regional developers, whatever you want to call them. There's a million different names, but essentially, they work with different people that help scale their concept. So as Everbowl has had, 400 and some stores signed up on, if every single one of those people had to fly to San Diego and go through that training center and do that and go through those exact stores, it would create kind of a log jam in how fast we could get stores open. Mm-hmm. So essentially what I did is I kind of took a couple states here in the Midwest and I purchased the rights to those and then have been building a team that helps us help people open Everbowls. And so we actually open our own stores. We have investors that, sometimes there's people that want to be part of the Everbowl journey, but they don't want to own the stores. So we actually open up stores in some of these territories just to show proof of concept. But if you take a city like Dallas, Dallas is 100 miles across there's no reason that one person needs to own all of Dallas or build out all of Dallas. So I opened up a couple stores there. And then through that, we found some other franchisees that are also in the process of building out locations. And we strategically kind of create an Everbowl, team of myself and a few franchises that strategically plan out how to build the city and how to, take on this big task. And we're doing the same thing right now in Houston, and we've already sold a couple in Austin. And like I said, kind of doing the same thing that they did out of San Diego 5 years ago with 1 store, 2 stores, 4 stores, 8 stores. And we're doing the same thing in Texas. And by doing it regionally there, we're able to do it a lot faster and keep that quality control that we're looking for.
Yeah. Why did the team with Everbowl decide to go to a franchise model?
Yeah, that's probably a better question for the founder, but all I can say is I am forever grateful. The company, I mean, it's crazy because, franchisees right now are really buying into a model that wasn't ever supposed to be available. Everbowl spent years and years creating this proprietary concept with proprietary food. And then on top of that has what they call We Build, which is a construction arm of their company that comes in and builds out our stores in less than a week. And so I actually had 2 recently in Texas where Everbowl came in on a Monday, and by Friday they built out 2 of our locations, already with the cash registers, the food lines, the fridges, the wallpaper, the wall coverings, etc. And they did it in 5 days. So there's these different pieces of the company that they built to help themselves scale. But essentially their company was, 99% located in California during the pandemic. And, California wasn't very kind to restaurants and to businesses. Most of these stores had to, have a table shoved up against the front of their store. They weren't allowed to let people cross over, and through that, the company actually started thriving. And, because of how much they fought back, and then all of a sudden they took excess inventory and they were on QVC, and they decided to take this thing that was supposed to put them out of business and say, wait a minute, what happens if we start looking at other ways of scaling and working with companies like mine and several other entrepreneurs across the United States that says, hey, I'd love to help you build Indiana. I'd love to help you build Colorado. I'd love to help you build this. And essentially, we just are a team of people that wake up every morning and think, how do we get more Everbowls? How do we find more people to be part of this? How do we open more? How do we, continue to grow this brand?
Yeah. So one, it's unheard of to have a team that actually comes out and sets up a store. Even more rare to do it within a week, but it's rare to even have a team come out and set up a store. And I guess that's to keep, the brand exactly the same and to keep cohesion.
Yeah, absolutely. And we even go to the point of having a team that works alongside of our franchisees the week of their opening. So we train their people the first week. We're there right alongside of them when they open the doors. For the couple days following, we're right there alongside of them, because we're not just scooping some fruit into a bowl and shoving it at a customer. Anybody can do that. Anybody can buy whatever ingredients they want and whatever. But what we're really trying to do is create an experience around our meals. Healthy eating should not be painful. I mean, how many times do I go and I get a salad at a restaurant and, they give me the tiniest little bit of dressing and 9 almonds on top and a dry chicken breast, and it's $26, and you're just sitting there just cringing every bite of it because you're trying to be healthy, And then there's these things. I literally just Uber Eats one an hour ago because I was hungry for lunch and want to have some energy this afternoon, and it's a bowl of something that's delicious and fresh. And, and there's things that they're, got some substance to it, some peanut butter in there, some berries, and stuff that just make me, feel like I'm eating a dessert, but yet it's good for me and vegan. And it's like I said, it's what I'm passionate about and what I want more of in my life. And as we open up these stores, what people realize is, wow, how much different that they feel when they incorporate something like this into their lives as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to have, like you said, not only something that you want to enjoy for healthy eating, but to provide something to the community, because a lot of times there's major metropolitan areas that have food deserts and don't have access to healthier quality food.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything is so processed now. I mean, like our Everbowl is stuff that's been around forever. And you'll see it if you go into our stores. Our employees wear shirts that say unevolve, which is our core mission, which is getting back to eating and moving the way nature intended. So what happens if once a week or twice a week, you switch out that processed fried food, a 1,400 calorie meal that makes you want to take a nap at 2 o'clock, and switch it for a 600 calorie meal of stuff that comes from Mother Nature? And by making that choice once a week, or going for an extra walk, or, going for a bike ride or whatever it might be, those changes compound, and if at the end of every year, if you make 2 changes in a meal from 1,400 calories to 600 calorie, that's 800 calories in a meal. If you do that twice a week, you're going to lose 25 pounds by the end of the year off of 2 small decisions. Because, I mean, a pound is 3,500 calories. So right there, you're losing over half a pound every week on those 2 decisions. And, and then what happens is you start seeing that combo. I'm a perfect example, man. I don't show before pictures, but I used to be a bigger guy, and I travel a lot. I'm on the road 100, 120 nights a year. I'm constantly in hotels and airplanes and airports. It's really hard to find ways to fuel yourself. And accessibility of food is just not there. Or like I said, it's so terribly boring. And what we're doing is just trying to create a brand that says, hey, switch that meal once a week, twice a week, make decisions that treat your body, the way that you should, and see how it reacts. We see it all the time in our employees and our customers, that just people change by eating our food, and it's exciting.
Man, I'm excited too that something so small as far as a decision can actually work so well, because I'm just like you. I travel a lot, for business. As an entrepreneur, we're always on the go. So it's always got to be quick, right? We're looking for the quick solution so I can keep on the go and get to the next task or next meeting. And that's why I make, some of the bad choices I make. I was vegan for like 2 months, and I was like, I can't do it. There's no places to find the food. So that was the hard part.
Yeah. What's so crazy is I'm not remotely vegan, but our restaurants are. All of our food except for 2 items, which are the protein powders that we add into our smoothies, if you'd like, everything in there is dairy free and vegan. And so it's not something that I was really in the know about. I'm from the Midwest, meat and potatoes. To going out to eat is usually like going out to a quick serve is like Chick-fil-A or Burger King kind of stuff. And so this just wasn't something. Chipotle was my go-to, right? If I want a bowl of something that's relatively healthy, Chipotle was kind of my answer. But you're still getting that full, groggy kind of feeling a few hours later.
Yeah.
And what I found when I ate this bowl was just literally, like things changed. The way I felt changed. The energy in the afternoon, the way we slept, everything was different. And so we're just on this insane mission to see how many of these we can get open and continue to spread it to as many communities as we can.
So Everbowl is about the now help me with pronouncing it, because me and my daughter have this battle all the time. I say Aki, she says acai.
Acai, yeah.
Acai. All right. So
I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but there's so many memes out there that there's one that's like, I don't care how many times I pronounce the word, it's still wrong in my mind,
Yeah. Good. So I'm not too far off. But not only the bowls, but what else is on the menu?
Yeah, so bowls and smoothies.
Okay.
And so we use, proprietary superfood bases. So it's kind of like Chipotle, but fruit. There's some different bases that you start your bowl with, and then you can mix and match. Or we've got local favorites as well that kind of hit a few different flavor profiles. And then our smoothies are something that, for the people that want something real quick or grab and go, a lot of our locations are next to shopping places. So people pop in and then, grab a smoothie and head over to Target rather than getting a, sugary Starbucks drink. They're getting something that's vegan and no sugar added, simple ingredients. And so, we keep the menu simple. The stores are intentionally small. The menu's intentionally simple. And we're just going after a really specific niche, which is food that's been around forever.
Yeah. It's interesting how it's been around forever, but at the same time, it's so cutting edge. Like you said, everything's so processed now that this is groundbreaking.
It really is. It feels like, I mean, it was when I had my first bowl, it was something that I had never remotely tried. And now every time I go to a new city, the first thing I do is order every one of my competitors or go visit anybody else that's trying it. And
Yeah.
I did that even before we signed the rights to the state of Texas. And I just can't find anybody that's remotely comparing in our quality, in our store design, and most importantly, in our culture. We're not just trying to shove bowls at people and make money, right? We're intentionally trying to help our guests unevolve and trying to educate them about some different food options that are out there. We're working with people's baseball teams and their cheerleading squads and their soccer teams and things like that to help younger people understand that to fuel yourself for athletics, there's different ways to do it than maybe you've been taught before. One of the coolest stories of Everbowl is that the first employee ever of Everbowl ended up becoming the first franchisee. And
Wow.
you think about how powerful that is of employees that have dedicated their lives to helping people have more food accessibility. And then through that, they've grown and become business owners that help continue to spread it. And, it's my goal that some of my employees at some point eventually go on to own some of their own locations and be part of this adventure as well.
That's incredible. You talked about not only becoming a franchisee, but there's also a way or a model that allows you to be an investor into a franchise. That's something I've never heard of. How does that work?
Yeah, so part of what I'm trying to build here, and with Everbowl, I think that part of making healthy eating fun is also to make people part of it in as many ways as we can.
Okay.
So rather than just being a customer, I also created a structure that allows other people to passively invest into the stores that we're launching. Right. So let's say there's people that are passionate about healthy eating, but maybe they own a roofing business or they do something else and they don't have time to go open a restaurant, but they love the idea of what we're doing, or they love Everbowl, or maybe they just want alternative income sources, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but the amount of time, like I was in real estate big, and you watch real estate climb, all of a sudden it becomes disproportionately part of your portfolio. And so we get a lot of investors that just, for whatever reason, they want to put different money to work in different ways. And so what we did is we carved off a portion of stores and we sell them in 3 store buckets. So it gives you a little bit of ups and downs in case there's one store that's a little slower, one that's a little busier. And so what we do is we allow people all over the country to invest into the stores that we're launching. So it's kind of cool because I think investing should be fun. And I think investing is kind of this, negative, like, oh, I got to take the money out of my paycheck and I got to wait till I'm 65 and all this kind of stuff. But to me, investing is also about creating and putting your money towards things where you get to see the change and see those dollars work. And so when we thought about how to build this business, and I mean, I feel like we're going to build hundreds of these. We're already well on track. And so what I did was, rather than me needing to own 100% of these and go to a bank and get a big bank loan and all that kind of stuff, I thought, what would happen if we crowdfunded making healthy eating cool? Right. And letting people invest into the stores, and then we make them part of the journey, which I think is like, it gives me goosebumps, because how many times do you invest in something you have no idea where your money's going? Right. You write your check to Apple. You're like, great. They put, their 19th wing on their super center of whatever. Like, that's not, but with us, we, when the investors invest, we get to send them updates. Hey, we just signed the first lease. Hey, here's the build out going on. Hey, look at the new employees. You helped us create jobs by investing in Sloan Capital. You helped us create jobs. Now we invite them out to the grand opening. We document that. If you see, I'm sure you've seen them on my social media and stuff. We throw crazy parties. Last Thursday, we had 400 people in line for one of our grand openings. And we just throw these massive parties, and our investors show up and their friends and their family and everybody that we know. And we, create this way where people are helping their friends and people around them get this accessibility for food, but then they're getting a check back every quarter off of, essentially not essentially, but making money off of, adding these options to their own communities. And how powerful it is to feed your family and then also get an ROI from making those kind of decisions. And even if you're not living in the area where you invest at, to be able to see the stores growing and know that you're putting your money towards making jobs, helping create healthy eating, and knowing that for every bowl that we sell, there's a little bit left that's left for the investors and for us.
Yeah, it's got a good mission behind it too. You also talked about the community aspect and how you get out and reach out to these little league teams and other people in the community. Makes me think: Are y'all doing anything with to locally source your produce? Is there anything with local farmers? I don't want to know anything proprietary, but how are you getting your produce?
Yeah, so we've got lots of different options and creative ways for getting things into our store and getting ingredients in there that are better quality ingredients than we would otherwise. I'll give you one example, and I don't want to go too proprietary down the road, but a perfect example is our acai. So acai is grown down in Brazil. It's very difficult to transport. It has to be flash frozen very, very quickly. And most of our competitors, if you go into their stores, they're taking the acai and they're blending it with ice and orange juice or apple juice or whatever in order to get a worse quality. And so what we've actually done is we went to the extreme of actually working with some of the farmers in Brazil and actually creating jewelry out of the acai seed bracelets. And then that's an extra revenue source to the farmers in Brazil that then make it easier for them to sell us the better quality acai that we can then get to our guests for a better price. Right. So there's lots of different creative things that we can do in the sourcing, both nationally and worldwide, as well as locally, to make sure that we're getting those, top quality ingredients. Most people don't believe that we sit there and cut every strawberry. I mean, every strawberry that's in our bowls, every pineapple, everything. People come in there and they think it's canned pineapple. No, right. I mean, if you go in the back of our stores, every single pineapple is cut down, broken down, cut into chunks. Every blueberry is hand washed and stems are picked off. Like we are intentionally doing what we can to get the freshest, best ingredients to people for the fairest price.
Yeah, that's great. Like you said, you're so passionate about it. And on your social media, you got these parties, 400 people. Not only is that, a great source of energy to the community and kind of, turns them up and gets them excited about the coming, store that's going to be opening in the community. But it's also great for marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of our launch mission when we go in and launch new markets is to throw a big party, and then we document it and we use that footage and we retarget, our ideal customers in that community. I think there's a mission. Well, there's a responsibility when you bring a new concept into a community. I think a lot of people want to open a business and then stand there and just expect people to come in there and try their food or try their product and support them. But the reality is there's new businesses opening every day in every city. And how could possibly people try every single one of them? So I look at it as our responsibility to make sure that we make it easy for people to try our food the first or second time, as easy as possible. And so the party that we throw the first night, every small bowl is free. We try and give away as much food. All of the neighbors, the people in the strip centers that we're located in, we want to make sure they're able to try our food, because this is part of our community building, is us outreaching and saying, hey, we know we're new. We know you've probably never tried anything like this before, but do me a favor, just try it for free. Try it at no cost. Let me know what you think. And what happens is, we've seen it just at this most recent store we opened less than a week ago, is those same people that got the free bowl on Thursday night are back Friday and sometimes even Saturday and Sunday as well. Because what they find is that every time they come in, they can get a little bit different of a transaction. They can get a little bit different, just like Chipotle. You change one ingredient, you can change the whole bowl flavor. And we've done that, but with superfoods.
Man, that's awesome. So you made a transition from your other business, and investment strategies, with real estate and stuff. Why did you find Everbowl to be a good place for you?
Yeah. So, if we rewind back, my first business that I ever built was a chain of cell phone retail stores. Right out of high school, I was working in cell phones. I had become a manager of at a location, and then made the decision that I was going to take every penny I had and go open my own store and be the only employee there. And I ended up building it into a pretty big chain of locations. And then from that, kind of made the decision, once we exited that, I made the decision that I really didn't want to have a physical business again. So we started buying a lot more real estate, things that were more passive, or we had tenants that would rent from us. And then through that, as scale goes and diversification happens, what do we start doing? We start investing into some different companies. I'm an investor in 15 or 16 different companies now. And then that's where we found Everbowl. I was at an event where Everbowl was featured there and talking about what they were doing. And it just was something that I had never seen. And I went from never having interest in opening a physical location to like signing the papers for Texas and being in Dallas as quickly as I could to get our first location open, building the staff. But to me, it seems like it's worth it. I think about the skills that I gained from starting different businesses, investing in different things, watching a lot of different companies do a lot of different things through the pandemic and such. And it just felt like it was one of those times to use the skill set that we had to go make a big difference in the world. And if for the next 5 to 10 years, we keep our heads down and everybody just opens these stores and treats customers the way that they deserve to be treated, what happened? I mean, it just seems like it's worth it. And it's going to be cool to watch the end of it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the continued growth and watch them take over the East Coast, because that's what I'm looking forward to.
We're coming there.
Yeah. So I got something that I like to do on every episode. So the name of the show is Success Leaves Clues Podcast. So I like to point out a couple of clues that I got that helped you to become successful. And I'm quite sure the audience will pick up, a lot of things themselves.
Awesome.
So one thing is I noticed that you know how to, really look at and analyze an opportunity, right? And so many times I think people are not successful because they pass over opportunities, so often, and they don't know what's actually being presented to them at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that I love to do is to look at a lot of opportunities. Because if you look at enough, you start to realize what a good opportunity looks like. So when I was first getting into rental properties, I was getting ready to buy my first rental house. And I would, every single day be on the MLS, be on every single site. And literally, like you're drafting a fantasy football player, be looking at the stats of the house, looking at the ROI, looking at this, telling myself, hey, I would pay this much for this house. It needs these changes, but then it would rent for this. And that's what would happen. And so every day I would fantasy buy 3 houses. And I'd put them into my spreadsheets and I'd see what would happen and be like, nope, this works. No, this doesn't. Here's why this works. Here's why this doesn't. And by looking at so many opportunities, then when that right opportunity is in front of you, it is screaming in your face. It is literally screaming, pick me. You've been looking at 100 of them. I'm different. Right. And that's how Everbowl was to me. Like, it's the same thing. I am constant every day. 1 or 2 different companies come through my email or text message or whatever says, invest in this, try this. Hey, we're raising money for this. But when you see something that's really, truly different, it just stands out so much that says, if you don't do this, you're an idiot, and that's essentially, you need to get so good at looking at stuff that if you don't do it, you're silly, because you've looked at so much stuff, it's a great deal. You've done the research, you've done the homework. Now it's time to just make the decision and go with it.
That's right. You do it enough, you know what right looks like.
Yes, sir.
The other thing I noticed is your involvement in the community. And I think nothing else can help you to be more successful than being ingrained and involved in the community, because as you provide a service to them, you have to also realize you're a steward to that community and helping the community grow as well as them, just being a customer to you. It's not all monetary.
Yeah, I think if you go into anything with just a take mentality, that will run out pretty quickly. So that's why we go into these new communities with a giving attitude, intentionally trying to give as much food away as we can. Little events. We're dropping off every day at dentist office, veterinarian office, everywhere that we can around, dropping off some food. Jimmy John's used to do this many years ago. I'd be working in one of my cell phone stores, and somebody from Jimmy John's would just drop me off a little sandwich and a cookie. and say, thank you so much. If you ever need anything, we're just down the street. And now look at that brand and what they did just by having people try their sandwiches. And
Yeah,
I think that
I remember the AOL model giving out the discs, remember?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a simple little thing of what would happen if you just made it easy to try your product for the first time, and then create an experience around it. And I think that's what so many people lack when they open new stores. It's like they get that grand opening pop or whatever, and then they just sit and take and take and take. And I look at it as, if we're going to try and build the biggest business that we can, we owe it to ourselves and our investors from the moment we open that store to make sure we make as many friends as we can in our communities, because those are the people that, are going to end up supporting that restaurant for years and years to come. And so we do everything we can. Yes, the first couple of months, the P&L doesn't look all that great, but guess what? We make a lot of friends. We make a lot of customers. Everybody in those communities know who we are. And then from there, we get to enjoy some of the financial stuff later down the road.
Yeah, that's right, Justin. It's the marathon.
Yes, sir.
Well, do you got some type of link, something I could put in the description? How do they get in touch with either Sloan Capital, or if they want to look into partnering with you or being a franchisee, where do I send them?
Yeah, absolutely. So sloan-capital.com is my website. For franchise inquiries, you can go straight to Everbowl, or the easiest way to reach me is Instagram. I kind of went all in on just, making lots of friends on Instagram and creating some stuff for there, showing what we're up to with our store launches and everything. And I know you better than anybody know that the DMs are where it's at. It's amazing how many people you can connect with in the world and create some amazing things just by simply shooting a message here or there. So if you're reading it, shoot me a message. Let's hang out.
All right. I want to remind everybody out there, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Success Leaves Clues podcast.
Be sure to follow Dr. K on Instagram at Dr. K Washington, or the podcast page at Success Leaves Clues Podcast. We'll see you here next time.